Alright, Bluescreen Bronies, first episode on Everfree Network. Woo!
It's exciting.
Yay.
And Sourpuss is happy, although you wouldn't know it.
I command you be happy.
Hooray!
There you go. So, how'd you guys like that intro I've been working on?
I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it, because I'm such a huge Mega Man fan that it's just such a good homage to it.
Why am I Bubble Man?
Because you're always Bubble Man.
Got a lot of game news to go through, mainly because CES decided that they were going to, reveal several non-normal platforming systems, like the NVIDIA Project Shield.
Yeah, I remember Razer did something like this back when they were talking about the Razer Edge, which was their little mini computer with that little crazy. You know the thing on the Razer Blade computer where they have the what do they call it? The Switchblade user interface where all the buttons can change the background depending on which game you're playing, and there's a screen on the trackpad and blah blah blah. It's actually kind of neat.
Well, it's powered by a graphics card and batteries. It still needs to be hooked up to the computer from what I read. It's like it uses a computer's processor to actually do the physics processes and just the graphics card to render. Which
Okay, but how does that make it a portable platform?
That's my question. I'm guessing if you use a wireless computer, it can wirelessly send those signals around, which would require a fast wireless router of some sort?
I can only imagine how short the battery life will be on this thing.
Yeah, didn't they try that with, didn't, Sega have their, giant handheld that had, a battery life of about an hour and had 3D graphics?
Yeah, it sounded more like the Wii U a little bit, because it could take the game on the road, but I don't know if it's going to do that well. And you mentioned the Razer Edge Pro. That was actually revealed at CES as well.
Yeah, the gaming tablet. That actually looked pretty solid. Razer is known for making some very good products, it's just that they're pricey.
But as far as Ultrabooks go in that region, you are looking at probably the better bang for your buck.
Yeah, true. Because you can buy the handles for almost console port games. You can get the keyboard for MMOs. It's also got a touchscreen, and then for more traditional tablet games, it's still got your motion controls and your touch controls. So it's really playing off the market pretty well.
The sad part is, it's still cheaper than an iPad.
Wow, I'm going to invest in one then.
Anything's cheaper than an iPad.
Yeah, Apple. Add another 0 on it, they won't notice.
Well, sad gaming news, the last of the PlayStation 2s that were produced in 2012 have finally shipped.
Well, we're saying goodbye to an era here, folks. Now, even after the PS3 launched, there were still fairly high sales of the PS2 globally. That was a system that held on for a long time.
That's because there was no backwards compatibility. Thank you, Sony.
Yeah, really.
Well, the original PS3 had it, because mine still has it.
I think mine does, too.
I remember the original PS2 had 2 lasers in it, too. They could read blue and black discs. Yeah, that didn't work out so well either, now did it?
Also, you had to buy the silly attachment if you wanted to play with 4 people.
Yeah, I remember those Wipeout days.
Yep. Also, the online was really kind of iffy.
Yeah, I remember Final Fantasy 11 was the big thing for PlayStation 2.
I don't know, I was playing Ghost Recon online, that was iffy.
PlayStation Network was never all that good, even back then.
Still isn't.
Alright, Pokemon. We thought everybody was going to be ready for Pokemon Rainbow. It turns out Pokemon Rainbow wasn't what they announced. It was Pokemon X and Y. I guess we're dealing with chromosomes now, not just legendaries.
Yep. Anybody else notice that the protagonist looks a lot like Egoraptor?
A little bit. Anyone else notice that the legendary for Pokemon X looks exactly like the Spirit of the Forest from Mononoke?
Yep, I did.
I wonder if Miyazaki had a plan here.
Miyazaki, indirectly influencing Pokemon way back when.
I'm not even going to comment on that one.
That's because you don't love Miyazaki, you die now.
What are you talking about? I have Castle in the Sky on Blu-ray.
Okay, you can survive a little bit longer. But this is probably the game that makes me get 3DS. I mean, it's adding a lot more to the game rather than just, oh, you get to make green screen videos? Like Black and White 2 did.
What?
Also, it completely changes the perspective in which you follow the character.
Yeah, and did you see the random battles? They actually jump out of the bush.
Oh, finally, I actually can get surprised instead of going, how do I get around this guy?
And yet everyone's still going to yell, Shiny Poochie! Here's some Brony game news for you. Evidently, Maxwell McGee, an editor over at GameSpot, decided to do an article on fighting as magic.
Good to see we're actually hitting up, a little more mainstream media. That and that Fighting as Magic got mentioned in EVO.
Yeah, just don't read the comments on any of them.
Oh, please. If reading comments is a death sentence in any medium.
Yeah, it takes a neutral stance a little bit. There's some fanboying, and then there's also some hating in there, too. I mean, it's an article. It's an opinion-based article. Because
in a
really,
public area.
It's not been released, so no one knows what it's going to be like. It's just... It's going to be good. It's just, how good is it going to be? Will Jay ever tell us when he's going to release it? That kind of thing. You know.
Will we ever see Fluttershy?
Now you go over there and turn Elizabeth and my friend Twilight back to normal. And don't ever let me catch you doing this again. Do you understand me?
The question is, can we stand Fluttershy seeing us?
Fair enough.
One does not simply look at Fluttershy.
Oh boy.
The Hub has launched 2 new games, Pinkie Pie's Cannon Blast and Mahjong as well.
Yep.
And
The Crystal Empire Find and Seek?
Crystal Empire Find and Seek. Yeah! It actually took him a lot longer to have a scavenger hunt game than I thought.
Yeah, well, it's also fairly well done. When I was watching Gideon play it the other day, they even have like animated stuff going in the background. It's really well done.
In a couple screenshots I've seen, you can see Rainbow Dash's butt and Pinkie Pie and Spike just having a eavesdrop session against Twilight. This new game, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I'm excited. It looks really cool. Now, the thing I like about CDQ Red is they're one of the few game companies that have the philosophy of when it comes out, we're not giving you a date. It comes out when it's ready. We're not going to put ourselves on a timeline.
And it'll work.
Oh yeah, Witcher 2 out of the box, almost bug-free, and was beautiful.
When it came time for the 360 version, they completely rebuilt the game from the ground up.
They did. There were no porting bugs. The story still worked. They even included all the DLC for free.
And if you had the original Witcher on PC, you got an upgrade for free.
Right. CDK Projekt Red just knows what they're doing. Also, that trailer, just the graphics, the whole atmosphere to it, made me think of a little bit of Psychomancer meets Deus Ex.
Fallout 3 voice actor hints at a possible sequel.
The voice actor for Three Dog came out on his Twitter and said that he might be seen again in an upcoming Bethesda title. He was green-lighted by Bethesda to release that spoiler, so we can only wait.
Well, hopefully he's better at spoilers than John Delancey.
Fair enough.
It's John Delancey! It's like telling Tara Strong to stop it!
Tara, stop it. See, that wasn't so hard.
And then he was murdered by the fandom.
It's not my fault you're gonna have 1,000 angry bronies at your door.
I already have 1,000 angry bronies at my door. I do a podcast.
Yeah, but you're also gonna have like 10,000 angry Teen Titans fans.
And every friggin' Powerpuff Girls fan.
Transformers Animated.
Fairly Odd Parents.
Evidently, in Massachusetts, violent games have been removed from the turnpike truck stops.
Yeah.
I mean, like, seriously?
It's getting kind of bad up here.
Take away the plastic guns, give you a real one. We're safe! I don't get it. The gaming industry spends millions of dollars on study after study after study to prove that games have no correlation to violent behavior and violent crimes. Yet that's the first thing they go towards.
Yep, it takes a certain kind of person to throw the First Amendment under the bus to protect the second one.
It takes a certain kind of person to threaten people's life via internet with gun violence because they're taking their guns away. I don't see video game people saying, "You're taking my games away, I'm going to storm Congress with plastic boxes and punch you with them."
That is true.
Although it would be hilarious to see.
Yep. Somebody comes in with an arsenal of the E.T. game and tries to blind them with how horrid it was.
Call of Duty Black Ops 2 discs.
You mean coasters?
Exactly.
But then they'll think we're attacking them with furniture.
Then we'll get the IKEA board on.
Yeah, I don't know if I want Sweden against us for the furniture war there, you know?
Nope.
Seriously?
So much for talking to Annalie Heath.
Oh boy.
Hey! She's amazing.
Yes, she is.
But this is to not stir up any debate, guns versus no guns, because really, to be honest with you, you're not going to get rid of all guns. The problem is really, to be honest with you, gun safety. Back in December, it wasn't gun laws, it was gun safety. It was a misuse of guns in their entirety. Those guns should not have been allowed around that person since he was mentally inept.
Also, you know, he couldn't get institutionalized for proper health in time, so... The thing that where I see it is, you know, there's been study after study, people come out saying constantly that video games don't cause violence in kids. Violent kids are attracted to video games. You beat people over the head with it, you know. And then and what it really comes down to is just the primary misconceptions, where there's games for kids and there's games for adults. Whether kids are playing games for adults depends on their upbringing. So it's out of my jurisdiction to judge.
It's simply an easy scapegoat.
Just like movies, television, books. Oh wait, no, we don't blame those. Wonder why.
Here's the thing, okay? Parents like to blame other things besides themselves when they fail. Because it's harder to admit that you failed as a parent rather than something else failed your kid.
Right.
Now, video games, yeah, they're inherently violent for the most part, okay? The problem is that I don't have the wish or the conscience to go out and murder thousands of people just because Call of Duty doesn't. The difference is, that's a war game, okay? There's Slaughterhouse, which isn't a war game, it's a horror game.
It's very, very, very graphic.
It's very, very, very graphic, very, very, very violent, and it bombed. No one bought it.
It just goes to prove that violent games are not what's selling. I mean, one of the greatest games out there is Journey, and that there's almost no violence in that game whatsoever. It's just, and then people are loving it.
What about Mario? Is Mario violent?
Somewhat, but I mean, not to the point of where it's up for concern.
Didn't PETA get a hold of that?
PETA did get a hold of that.
I'll tell you one game that's not on their list. Actually, two games. Cabela's Big Game Hunter and Duck Hunt.
Which is where you actively shoot animals.
It's okay to teach kids to shoot whatever they want as long as it's not a human. It's not okay to teach a kid to shoot a human. But the problem is, we're at war for over 10 years. We need people to be able to shoot other people. But the major misconception is, games are not training devices. You cannot learn how to drive with a driving sim. You cannot learn how to drive with a driving game. You cannot learn how to fly with a flying sim. You don't learn how to shoot with an FPS, because I tell you right now, I don't have a mouse and joystick in a combat zone. Alright, I mean, that basically does it for the game news. The only other thing on there is, guys, drop the whole guns versus video game thing, because there is no battle there. The problem is gun safety. There's no such thing as video game safety.
Well, it's called the ESRB, and they don't really do too much.
There's really no such thing, because, really, to be honest with you, if ESRB's there and Walmart's still selling Call of Duty, parents are giving it to their clearly underage children. That's not the fault of Walmart, that's not the fault of the ESRB, that's not the fault of Infinity Ward, that's the fault of the parents.
No, it just comes down to how they want to raise their kid, and I'm not going to start a debate about that.
Yeah, if they want to raise their kid, they shouldn't blame other things besides themselves. I mean, I'm going to quote Family Guy. Maybe they shouldn't let the networks raise their kids. Maybe.
God, I love Seth MacFarlane.
So far this week with CES, I'm looking forward to Project Shield a little bit more than I am the Razer Edge Pro.
Yeah, that Razer Edge Pro, I looked at it. It's got stronger stats than my Asus G53 laptop, and at full blast, that laptop gives me about 45 minutes with the battery.
If there's anything Razer's good at, it's battery life. I've been surprised by that. I have a wireless mouse from them, and whew, man, can it tank.
There's a bit of a difference between a mouse and...
No, but I mean, even their battery technology in their laptops, too. It's just, when you compare what they've been doing with batteries to competitors, they usually come out on top.
I know I'm not too excited about the Pokemon game, but kinda am a little bit.
I might pick it up. I don't really play Pokemon that much, but it's a whole new spin, so I'm definitely willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, I think the real shocker for this episode, though, would have to have been the PS2.
Yeah.
The PS2, I played a lot of games on the PS2.
I still have mine.
I actually don't have my PS2 anymore.
I've got my Slim sitting right next to me.
Huh.
Well, I just turn around, fire up the PS3 with its infinite memory cards.
True.
That ends this week's game news. We're going to go right into the game reviews. Next couple weeks, we're going to have some interviews up. One from my little investigations team. Gabu X was happy to give us an interview there. This was back before Christmas, so a little bit of time lag there.
Just a little bit.
We also have Tall Tale from Role Playing is Magic, the tabletop Dungeons and Dragons port. And then we also have an interview in the works with the Journey of the Spark team.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Alright guys, up next, Civ 5, Shadow Complex, and whatever game Viral did, I'm sure it's horrible.
Oh, indeed it was.
Civilization 5, the pinnacle of empire building. Well, okay, it isn't awesome, but it's rather good. With several mods, you can drastically change the layout of the game and even add new leaders like Celestia, Cadence, Chrysalis, and Always Awesome Luna. With these also come new buildings, units, and backgrounds. If you aren't used to micromanaging cities across a continent, this game can be a little difficult to handle at first. Having to balance diplomacy with war is tough sometimes. Okay, so it's not as epic as I expected, but hey, it's still pretty good. Good graphics, good AI, interesting map layouts, and you can literally play this game for days at a time if you set up the timer to epic.
Next time I think I'll just pass out written invitations.
With several different unit types that are upgradable, eventually you can turn the smallest army into a laser rifle dinosaur-wielding soldier of awesome. With an expansion pack that increases the amount of nations you can choose, you can rule literally as anything from Bismarck of Germany to George Washington of America. This game is multiplayer enabled and can be quite long, so be prepared to sit in a chair for hours on end. The game makers spent a great deal of time to make sure history and strategic combat mix well, but the national prejudices aren't noticeable, if not missing entirely.
Bam.
The game itself isn't bad, but most people will compare it to Civ 4, another great game in the franchise. So spend some time, build an army, construct the empire how you see fit.
And that's how Equestria was made. What, huh?
Funny enough, I still lost that game.
Yeah, gee, sounds like my plane chase game. You know, well, let's burn 8 hours. Oh, and I still lose. Great.
Yep, sounds about right for those kind of games. That's why I always cheated.
You're awful.
You cheated everything!
Hey, with Skyrim, they shouldn't have allowed me access to the console.
It's not their fault that you exploited their game.
No, I got voted out by the UN.
Oh.
Wait, the UN did something useful? There's a shocker.
Don't you win if you make the UN?
Yeah, which I didn't make.
Oh. Did you get to space?
I didn't get the space either.
But the moon, and you... never mind.
I see the joke you're trying to make there, but I didn't find it funny, so I'm moving on.
Okay.
I don't know, I have a real problem with those games playing them solo because they're just so boring. It takes so long.
And there's nobody you can yell at for being stupid and not letting you win.
Yeah. Or you can't Zerg Rush them either.
Nope, you can't. Zerg Rush doesn't really work if it's turn-based. Time to grab some power-ups and prepare for some backtracking, folks. We're playing a new age Metroidvania classic, Shadow Complex. This is a game from way back in 2009, part of the summer arcade releases for Xbox Live Arcade. This game is held up nicely with its solid gameplay elements and fantastic design. It's produced by Chair, the same people who brought us Infinity Blade 1 and 2 on iOS, with a little bit of help from a little guy named Cliff Bleszinski from Epic Games, as I'm sure you've heard of him. You know, guy who worked on Gears of War. Kind of a big deal. Now, Shadow Complex pays homage to Super Metroid with its clever power-ups and weapon system, and Castlevania with its unique environments and challenging platforming elements. The plot of the game is tied closely with the novel Empire by Orison Scott Card, the same author as Ender's Game, which is a must-read in my opinion, and Chair plans to release a sequel along with the next book that came out recently. The story goes that you play Nolan North, or Nathan Drake. Wait, no, not Nathan Drake. Wait, I got this. Jason Fleming. Whew, those Nolan North characters sure do bleed together, don't they? Who's out hiking with a girl he met at the bar. I've seen enough horror movies to know where this is going. They get separated, and Jason discovers a massive complex hidden deep underground where the girl, Claire, has been captured by armed soldiers with high-tech arsenal patrolling the base. Now Jason must play the hero and rescue her by stealing the enemy's arsenal and using it against them. Core gameplay of Shadow Complex involves a 2.5-dimensional environment, meaning that you, the character, move in 2 dimensions while enemies spawn and attack from all 3 dimensions. Some of the aiming is a bit screwy and takes some finagling to get right, but the gunplay as a whole is solid. Another nice feature of combat is the activated and passive environmental hazards that you can use to your advantage. Things like flame jets, rising water levels, and explosive barrels can help turn the tide of battle. Whether or not it's in your favor depends on how tactful you are. Enemies fly away like ragdolls with explosives, and there's a certain amount of satisfaction when you can force an enemy to fall for that wonderful Wilhelm scream. As you progress through the game, you'll be guided through the corridors by locked doors and certain impasses that you'll need special power-ups to traverse when you start backtracking. Things like grenades, rockets, jetpacks, grappling hooks, and even the super speed mechanic from Super Metroid are all powers that you will need to fully explore the base and combat your enemies. The game uses a classic health system, so you'll need to stop up on medikits and health before large confrontations, and there's a surprisingly well-done experience system that rewards you with extra protection, damage, stamina, precision, and even unlocks unlimited ammo for some of the special weapons like grenades and rockets at later levels, encouraging you to replay the game at harder difficulties for a better challenge and to unlock more goodies. The hidden power-ups in the game range from slightly out of the way to way out in the boonies to, oh dear god, I better save before trying this. The devs did a good job of spoon-feeding some of the vital power-ups to those who are new to the genre, while giving us experienced players a challenge to find the less necessary ones, and there's some downright sadistic challenges for the tried-and-true completionists and platformer fans. There's even a super bonus if you find all the gold, bars, and keycards in the game, if you're up to the challenge. The one thing that bothered me in Shadow Complex was that the bosses felt underpowered. I had more of a challenge dealing with the standard enemy hordes than the super mecha spiders or the super soldiers in power armor. Although some of the bosses did take an environmental hazard to kill, which I thought was a nice use of the game's good level design. In all, Shadow Complex is an amazing game. It's a worthy homage to the good old platformers from back in the day and wears the Metroidvania badge with pride. While there hasn't been a good Metroid game in some time, Shadow Complex helps to make the pain go away with smart level design, fast-paced action, and a challenging gauntlet of platforming segments that reward quite nicely. The best part is that it's under $20 for a fantastic game. This is a must-have for anybody with an Xbox. And remember folks, when asked to go hiking in the Pacific Northwest with some girl you met at the bar, be sure to bring some power-ups and an extra clip.
Plenty of fish in the sea.
So yeah, I went back in my old game library and picked out a good one.
hold on. Hold on. I got a saying for this. Wait. Armageddon Metal Gear!
Yeah, there was a bit of reference in there.
It's nice to see a Metroid-style game that doesn't suck.
Right?
Well, I don't know. It has a romance plot twist. Oh wait, so did Metal Gear. Damn.
And so did Other M.
We're not talking about that. Okay, so it's 2.5D.
Yep, that's what the devs were calling it.
Did Michael Bay work on it? Because that's a ton of explosions.
No, unfortunately. There's some good explosions. The ragdoll physics are fun. And there's some really good secret stuff in there, like the ending I showed isn't actually canon. That's a joke ending that Cher put out as a fun little teaser.
What is it, you just find a car at the beginning of the
No,
game?
that's your car that you came here with, and he just drives home. Hence the line, plenty of fish in the sea.
I was surprised since the creator of Gears of War was working on it that they didn't have a "Where's my wife?"
He starts off with that, then he finds her, and it's like, okay, time to go kill everything.
Greetings, folks. Recently, we here at the Bluescreen Bronies gave our top 10 games of 2012. We covered several good games. However, one question I received regarding our list was why Diablo III wasn't on it. There were many reasons why Diablo III did not make our top 10 list. I'll attempt to cover a few of the problems I had with the game in this mini-view. To start things off, let's go back to the game's launch. Even before we got our Cheeto-covered hands on Diablo 3, we knew it was going to suffer from always online DRM. Blizzard put this in place to, quote, give us an environment free from exploiting and cheats. In reality, it was just a way for them to push their auction house feature and attempt to control piracy. Which brings us to our first problem. Given the always-on DRM, we were forced to connect to Blizzard's servers to play a single-player game. This would have worked, though, if the servers could actually handle the amount of people logging into the game at midnight. Instead, thousands of players were forced to sit and stare at the infamous Error 37 screen because the server simply couldn't handle the stress. Personally, I wasn't able to play the game till almost a week after launch. Let's move on to another issue, the auction house, and by proxy the real money auction house. First, though, a history lesson. For years, players had been trading items for cash in Diablo 2. They did this through various websites and services. While Blizzard may have had honorable intentions with implementing this feature, aside from the blatant money grab, unfortunately, the D3 development team balanced item drop rates around the idea that players would be using the auction house. Another issue with this service is the Battle.net balance that the entire system revolves around. This service turns your Battle.net account into a giant gift card, so to speak. The same account that your World of Warcraft and StarCraft 2 accounts are on. However, can you use this money to purchase anything from Blizzard other than Diablo 3 Gold and a character transfer in WoW? No. You cannot pay your WoW subscription with the money you earn in Diablo 3. You cannot buy anything from the Blizzard store. So what's the point of it? While there are several more issues I could list about this game, I'm going to end it on a couple balance concerns. Before we go anywhere with balance though, this game has 5 classes, yet you can only have 4 players in a game at a time. Somebody at Blizzard has problems with fractions. Throughout the development cycle of Diablo 3, Blizzard claimed that any combination of skills and abilities would be viable to play through the various difficulty settings. However, when it came to barbarians, you had to go sword and board in the higher difficulties or you got wrecked. Repeatedly. I know from experience. The only way to get around this was to spend insane amounts of money in the auction house to get powerful weapons that players that could play were getting. But all that aside, one of the more annoying balancings I found that simply broke lore / gameplay, however you want to put it, you can stun Diablo, the final boss of the game. You can easily knock out most of his damaging abilities just by speccing into a cheap ability. Overall, Diablo 3 had a ton of potential, yet fell flat on its face. But before we go, let's talk about one of its redeeming features. During a BlizzCon a few years ago, somebody commented that Diablo III wasn't dark enough. Blizzard countered this with a picture of Sunshine and Rainbows Diablo. Little did we know it would lead to the secret level being far more entertaining than we could possibly have imagined. And before anyone asks, yes, they didn't forget about our little corner of internet insanity.
So, Viral, like to torture yourself there a little bit. Thought we agreed that Torchlight 2 would be our game to play.
Our game to play, but Scootaloo showed me another game to play.
Oh, dear lord.
I can keep going all night long with these.
Let's not say we did. I don't know, even looking at it now, I'm just seeing, classic Blizzard plastered all over this.
I mean, yeah, sure, the pony level is funny, but really, what did Diablo 3 add?
Honestly, it really didn't add much. It did a bunch of quality of life changes, and just the bad outweighed the good.
Yeah.
What about after the Paragon patch?
The Paragon patch, really all it did was make it to where if you leveled up with the Paragon, you didn't have to actually worry about wearing your Magic Find gear, because your Paragon would push you to maximum Magic Find. That's all it did. Gave you a few extra stats, but nothing major.
Now what I want to know is, so basically what they're saying is with auction house money, that's only money you can use back in the auction house, or like meta purchases?
You can use the Diablo 3 money. It goes to your Battle.net account. This is my understanding of it anyway. It goes to the account. You can charge it out to PayPal. Blizzard is going to take one heck of a chunk out of it, because you can actually make money off the game if you're good and have a ton of Magic Find. However, it is a pain in the butt to actually get people to buy your items, because there's about 1,000 of the same item, with wildly varying stats. But as far as what you can purchase, it's simply Diablo 3, cash out, or you can buy World of Warcraft character services. That's it. You can't buy anything on the Blizzard store.
I see a lot of exploitable going on if there's a team of people doing this, but then again, Blizzard's making a profit, so they don't care.
They've never really cared that much unless they were called out on it anyway.
Well, they have been called out on the fact that the Blizzard or the Battle.net balance is useless. Their excuse is always the same as why certain things are.
Yeah, well, that kind of concludes this episode for this week. If you got really any questions, you can send them to us at bluescreenbronies@gmail.com. D-Pat's going to be doing a segment with the Gamer's Toolbox every month. Send him your tech-related questions. If you're having problems loading a game, you can't run a streaming service with a game, he can try to help you as best as he can. And he'll even answer some questions on his segment at the end of the month with our last episode of the month. So guys, what do you look forward to next week?
Let's see, next week. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be here, but looking forward to hearing about it.
I'm looking forward to having less controversial topics come out of freaking Washington.
That'd be fantastic.
Never gonna happen.
Looking forward to hearing more about CES when it concludes.
I'm looking forward to more Xbox spoilerage there with the new Xbox Durango.
Durango, 720, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to get rid of my current console. It's been fine for almost 6-7 years now.
Bet you it's over $500.
Oh yeah, all of that.
Over $500 comes with a webcam.
Or
Yeah, that I'll never
$500
use.
comes with a webcam, and probably has always on DRM.
Oh, and let's not forget gimmicky motion controls.
We'll see you next week, guys. I'm Draco.
I'm D-Pad.
And I'm Viral.